Hello. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for coming to the story corner for another evening of story time. Unless, of course, it's not evening when where you listen to this, but for me, it's evening. So thanks for stopping by. We're reading Evelina. We're on chapter 29, I think. Just about to get started. But before we do, I always like to ask, what did you have for dinner? Just for fun. I love sharing ideas and recipes. And, lots of times when you can't think of what to make, and if somebody's like, oh, we had this or did that, like, oh, good idea. And even if you don't make what they made, it gives you ideas, right? So we had crab cakes, which were really, really good. Aldi's sometimes gets these crab cakes and they're not very expensive and they're really good. So we had crab cakes for Sunday dinner and then rice, buttered rice with tomatoes on it, which is really good. If you've never had hot rice with cold tomatoes on it, try it. It's yummy. Unless, you don't like tomatoes, but I do. I love them. And then spinach salad, and that was really good too. And then I made, instead of doing ranch or like what's it called, the tartar sauce, for fish and stuff, I kind of did a mix. So I made a sauce that was kind of like tartar sauce, and it had mayonnaise and sour cream and dill weed, so it was a little bit like this dill fish sauce, but it had lemon in it and it had ranch in it and it had spicy teeny tiny mini pickles cut up in it, so it was real spicy and it was really good. And then I put it over the salad like a dressing and over the crab cakes as like a tartar sauce kind of, and it was really good for both. Like it worked. It's very yummy, versatile, super good. And we haven't had dessert yet because I have been running around like a chicken with my head cut off trying to get everything done that needs done. But I'm just going to cut up some fresh fruit and make a little fruit dip because that's just one of our favorite things. So I'll be doing that after we're done here. So we'll be having, and we did a little bit of grocery shopping today. So we have a fresh pineapple and we have some grapes and bananas and strawberries. So we have quite a bit of really yummy fresh fruit with a little bit of a dip. So it's going to be good. I'm excited. Okay. Oh, and then sorry, I almost started reading before I forgot to show off my stuff. The stuff that I make that's so cute because I make cute stuff, right? I love to make things. So I'm gonna start off and just remember that everything I show you on here, you can buy it. It is for sale. And now it might not be in my store, and most of this stuff isn't because I have like 200 things in my store and like 1,000 things for real that I've made. So I used to be going through it a lot and constantly remaking things, not remaking, but making new things and selling because I was going to shows and fairs and craft shows and stuff and selling every weekend. But I haven't done that for a long time. So now I have all this stuff that I was making as I went to these events. And then I had to stop going to events for a while. And so now I have all this stuff. So if there's anything you see, it's probably not in my store, message me. You can get it, and then if there's several things you want, then if you get like over $30 worth of stuff, you can get free shipping, which is like 2 items because my stuff is only 15, 16, 20, 25. It depends on what it is. Like if it's an earring and necklace set, it's probably $30, and then you just get free shipping. But yeah, it's all for sale. It's all available. So if there's anything you see that you want, just text me and see if I still have it because I do sell some stuff still. But this is a bracelet, and it has a real dried flower, one that I picked and dried. In fact, I think this one I picked on the California coast. Cute, right? And then I put a little, it was white, but I kind of wanted it to have like this soft green look. So I sprinkled a really fine glitter over the top of it. So it sparkles green, but it's this cute white flower just set, and then it has a little bit of a leather band. So, I'm not going to put it all the way on, but about that size. Really cute bracelet. And then I have these cute little rose earrings, and it's kind of hard to tell in this lighting, but they're kind of a red pink, but the tips are a little bit silver tipped. And it just does not show up in this lighting much. You might be able to see it a little bit, but they're really cute. And then they're on a cute decorative, like, I don't even know what you call this, spacer. And so they dangle and then the rose is down here, right? So they would be like, come on, about like I'm trying to show you, and I'm backwards on my camera to my face, about like that. So the rose would come about down to here, and they're small, like you can see on my hand that they're quite tiny little roses. They're really cute. And then I have this necklace, which is cute. So this is also a flower that I have picked and dried. So it's set in a real dried flower. And then I did just the clear resin because I just kind of wanted it to look like it was sitting in glass. And so it's got that clear resin around it, and then the little dried flower, and then just a little crystal diamond, hanging off the bottom. Not a real diamond, of course. I mean, I could do that once I get really good, and you could pay $500 for it. But right now it's like $20 because I didn't use real diamonds. But yeah, it's really, really pretty with that kind of rose pink dried flower set in the heart. Cute necklace. Anyway, so there's that. So there's a couple of things I've made. I do enjoy showing them off because, I enjoy making them. And what's the point of making it if you never show it off? Okay, so Evelina, chapter 29, I believe. Now, just a little recap, and I don't always remember to do the recap, but Evelina, so she was with her cousins, and they were out, got stuck in the rain in some shop, and then she saw Lord Orville's carriage, and anyway, it was this whole thing where she was with the Bringtons, and they were like, oh well, you know him, so we could just use his carriage, and then they said for his servants to go ask him if Evelina, Miss Anvil, could take his carriage, and she would never have asked him, but he was really sweet, and he said yeah, and so they took it to get the ride home, she was just so mortified that they would just take advantage of him and use him. And then after they dropped her and Madame Duval off, then they took it all the way to take the Bringtons to their house, and the wheel broke or something. There was some damage done to the carriage, and so then Tom went to stick his head out the window to see what happened, and the glass wasn't down, so he broke the glass with his head. So they did all this damage to his carriage when they took it, which was so embarrassing. And then the Tom kid, he was afraid that he would be mad, so he went to his house the next day to apologize, and then he used Evelina's name and said, yeah, she said to say hi, basically, which she didn't say, and she was mortified. And so she wrote a letter to him, a little letter, which is considered very inappropriate. You didn't write letters to people who you didn't know, at that time, and said, I apologize for writing. It's very, but I just had to tell you that none of that had anything to do with me. They asked for your carriage in my name against my will. I'm so sorry about all of it and the damage to your carriage, and I feel just terrible that all this happened. And then she gets a letter back, and it's really snotty and disrespectful from him, but being like, oh, nice, glad you wrote to me. Guess that means I can write to you, and now we can, hide our little affair or whatever it is. And she was just so embarrassed because she just thinks so highly of him. She thinks he's the only other man she's ever met that can compare to him was Arthur Villers, her what do you call the person who's adopted you and taken care of you? Her foster father. And this was the only other man she's ever met that she felt like compared to him. And then sure enough, he ended up being a jerk, just like a bunch of these other men she's come in contact with. And so she's just so heartbroken, because she really thought highly of him. Anyway, it's this whole thing. And she hasn't told Arthur Villers, Mr. Villers, because she was just going to conceal it from everybody, because she's the one that kept telling him how wonderful Lord Orville was. And now she doesn't want to turn around and say, oh, whoops, I was wrong. He's terrible. He treated me so disrespectfully. So she just doesn't want to say anything, but now she's all sad and stressed out, and he can sense that. So he knows there's something wrong. And anyway, the whole thing. So that's kind of where we're at. And she did finally confide it to Maria. She wrote it in a letter to her friend Maria. So that's how we know, right? Because this is all just letters, the entire book. So 29, Evelina in continuation, Berry Hill, August 10th. You complain of my silence, my dear Miss Mervyn, but what have I to write? Narrative does not offer, nor does a lively imagination supply the deficiency. I have, however, at present sufficient matter for a letter in relating a conversation I had yesterday with Mr. Villars. Our breakfast had been the most cheerful we have had since my return hither, and when it was over, he did not, as usual, retire to his study, but continued to converse with me while I worked. We might probably have passed all the morning thus sociably, but for the entrance of a farmer who came to solicit advice concerning some domestic affairs. They withdrew together into the study. The moment I was alone, my spirits failed me. The exertion with which I had supported them had fatigued my mind. I flung away my work, and leaning my arms on the table, gave way to a train of disagreeable reflections, which, bursting from the restraint that had smothered them, filled me with unusual sadness. This was my situation, when looking towards the door, which was open, I perceived Mr. Villars, who was earnestly regarding me. Is Father Smith gone, sir? Cried I, hastily rising and snatching up my work. Don't let me disturb you, said he gravely. I will go again to my study. Will you, sir? I was in hopes you were coming to sit here. In hopes? And why, Evelina, should you hope it? This question was so unexpected that I knew not how to answer it, but as I saw he was moving away, I followed and begged him to return. No, my dear, no, said he with a forced smile. I only interrupt your meditations. Again I knew not what to say, and while I hesitated, he retired. My heart was with him, but I had not the courage to follow. The idea of an explanation brought on in so serious a manner frightened me. I recollected the inference you had drawn from my uneasiness, and I feared that he might make a similar interpretation. Solitary and thoughtful, I passed the rest of the morning in my own room. At dinner, I again attempted to be cheerful. But Mr. Villars himself was grave, and I had not sufficient spirits to support a conversation merely by my own efforts. As soon as dinner was over, he took a book, and I walked to the window. I believe I remained near an hour in this situation. All my thoughts were directed to considering how I might dispel the doubts which I apprehended Mr. Villars had formed, without acknowledging a circumstance which I had suffered so much pain merely to conceal. But while I was thus planning for the future, I forgot the present, and so intent was I upon the subject which occupied me that the strange appearance of my unusual inactivity and extreme thoughtfulness never occurred to me. But when at last I recollected myself and turned round, I saw that Mr. Villars, who had parted with his book, was wholly engrossed in attending to me. I started from my reverie, and hardly knowing what I said, asked if he had been reading. He paused a moment, and then replied, Yes, my child, a book that both afflicts and perplexes me. He means me, thought I, and therefore I made no answer. What if we read it together? Continued he. Will you assist me to clear its obscurity? I knew not what to say, but I sighed involuntarily from the bottom of my heart. He rose, and approaching me, said with emotion, My child, I can no longer be a silent witness of thy sorrow. Is not thy sorrow my sorrow, and ought I to be stranger to the cause, when I so deeply sympathize in the effect? Cause, sir, cried I, greatly alarmed. What cause? I don't know. I can't tell. Fear not, said he kindly, to unbosom thyself to me, my dearest Evelina. Open to me thy whole heart. It can have no feelings for which I will not make allowance. Tell me, therefore, what is it that thus afflicts us both? And who knows but I may suggest some means of relief? You are too good, cried I, greatly embarrassed. But indeed, I know not what you mean. I see, said he. It is painful to you to speak. Suppose, then, I endeavour to save you by guessing. Impossible, impossible, cried I eagerly. No one living could ever guess, ever suppose. I stopped abruptly, for I then recollected I was acknowledging something was to be guessed. However, he noticed not my mistake.
I cut myself with a Cutco knife for the first time.
What? Just barely? What happened? Were you cutting the pineapple?
Yeah, trying to.
Aw. Aw, sis, I'm sorry. You okay?
Yeah.
Did Father help you with the Band-Aid?
No, I just got it myself.
Oh, did you not show him? You just took care of it, huh? Did you wash it first? Oh, sis.
No.
You were cutting the pineapple and you cut your hand? She's used the knives. My knives, I have my Cutco knives. I sell Cutco knives for anybody who doesn't know. They're the best, by the way. If you want good knives, give me a call. But they're very sharp, so I've been pretty careful with her using them. But I've let her help me a bunch of times, and she's really careful with them. She's really good. Did you slip? How did you cut?
It's just like a little sharp point.
Oh, just the points kind of slipped and pegged into you. Well, it looks like this Band-Aid's not so big, and it looks like it's taking care of it. Well, shoot. We've had them for a whole year, and this is the first time she ever cut herself. She's used them quite a few times, but I'm usually there helping her because, I don't want her to cut herself. They are very, very sharp. Best knives ever. I'm sorry, sis. I'm so sorry you got cut. I love you. You're pretty brave to just go get a Band-Aid and take care of it yourself.
It's also a purple one.
It is. It's cute. I like that color. The colored Band-Aids are kind of fun because they're cute. Do you want to sit with me while we read? You can sit on my lap. Get your hair out of your eyes. Yeah, you can take it. Oh, you want to get on my bed? Then never mind. If she can have a turn playing Roblox on my phone, she is healed. That's it. She's good. You okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I love you so much.
And Roblox is my favorite game in the entire world.
Yeah, Roblox is her favorite game in the entire world. And this is Pictionary. She's 6 years old, and she's learning to read, but she's not like a good reader. So we have our own rules of how we play Pictionary because she can't read the cards, so we take turns reading them and guessing. She is amazing at drawing. It's insane. I mean, a lot of stuff she doesn't know what it is, so we have to find something that she knows what it is. But I think maybe once or twice, and all the times we've played it, has she drawn something that we couldn't guess what it was. She's really, really good.
It's not fair if it's something that I don't know.
Yeah, that's right.
It's not fair.
Right, you have to know what it is or you can't draw it. But so we find one that she knows what it is, and she draws it, and she's an artist. It's impressive.
One time I drew a paintbrush and I had the hole in it.
Yeah, she does. Oh, it's cute. But Pictionary is one of her favorite. Whenever we do a game night, we have to do Pictionary because she loves it. Okay, back to the book.
And Mandy has Roblox on our computer, so some nights we play Roblox together.
Yep, she gets to play Roblox with her sister, who's 2,000 miles away. We love you, Mandy.
Not too long.
Yeah, it's usually not very long. It's because she gets home from work and then she's making dinner and she's busy, but she takes the time for you, and it's so sweet.
Yeah. One time we played speedrun, she helped me guess. She helped me read it. And then everyone gets the exact same thing. And then either you get in
first place, second place, or third place. Yeah, it's a little drawing contest, and she does pretty good on there. Okay, back to the reading.
And there's a ton of games on Roblox.
Yeah, so many. Okay, so she's kind of admitting to him that there is something wrong because she keeps telling him she's fine, but obviously she's not. So now he says, "At least let me try," answered he mildly. "Perhaps I may be a better diviner than you imagine.
Yeah, there's a garbage
If I guess
can
everything that is probable, surely I must approach near the real reason.
Bye.
Be honest then, my love, and speak without reserve. Does not the country, after so much gaiety, so much variety, does it not appear insipid and tiresome? No, indeed, I love it more than ever, and more than ever do I wish I had never, never quitted it. Oh, my child, that I had not permitted the journey. My judgment always opposed it, but my resolution was not proof against persuasion. I blush indeed, cried I, to recollect my earnestness. But I have been my own punisher. It is too late now, answered he, to reflect upon this subject. Let us endeavour to avoid repentance for the time to come, and we shall not have erred without reaping some instruction. Then, seating himself, and making me sit by him, he continued, I must now guess again. Perhaps you regret the loss of those friends you knew in town. Perhaps you miss their society, and fear you may see them no more. Perhaps Lord Orville? I could not keep my seat, but rising hastily said, Dear sir, ask me nothing more, for I have nothing to own, nothing to say. My gravity has been merely accidental, and I can give no reason for it at all. Shall I fetch you another book, or will you have this one again? For some minutes he was totally silent, and I pretended to employ myself in reading, in looking for a book. Alas, with a deep sigh, I see, said he, I see but too plainly that though Evelina is returned, I have lost my child. No, sir, no, cried I, inexpressibly shocked. She is more yours than ever. Without you, the world would be a desert to her, and life a burden. Forgive her then, and, if you can, condescend to be condescend to be once more the confidant of all her thoughts. How highly I value, how greatly I wish for her confidence, returned he. She cannot but know, yet to extort, to tear it from her. My justice, my affection, both revolt at the idea. I am sorry that I was so earnest with you. Leave me, my dear, leave me and compose yourself. We will meet again at tea. Do you then refuse to hear me? No, but I abhor to compel you. I have long seen that your mind has been ill at ease, and mine has largely partaken of your concern. I forbear to question you, for I hoped that time and absence from whatever excited your uneasiness might best operate in silence. But alas, your affliction seems only to augment. Your health declines, your look alters. Oh, Evelina, my aged heart bleeds to see the change. Will you turn that down a little, sis? Bleeds to behold the darling it had cherished, the prop it had reared for its support, when bowed down by years and infirmities, sinking itself under the pressure of internal grief, struggling to hide what it should seek to participate. But go, my dear, go to your own room. We both want composure, and we will talk of this matter some other time. Oh, sir, cried I, penetrated to the soul, bid me not leave you. Think me not so lost of feeling to gratitude. Not a word of that, interrupted he. It pains me you should think upon that subject, pains me you should ever remember that you have not a natural and hereditary right to everything within my power. I mean not to affect you thus. I hoped to have soothed you, but my anxiety betrayed me to an urgency that has distressed you. Comfort yourself, my love, and doubt not but that time will stand your friend, and all will end well. I burst into tears. With difficulty had I so long restrained them, for my heart, while it glowed with tenderness and gratitude, was oppressed with the sense of its own unworthiness. You are all goodness, cried I, in a voice scarce audible. Little as I deserve, unable as I am to repay such kindness, yet my whole soul feels, thanks you for it. My dearest child, cried he, I cannot bear to see thy tears. For my sake, dry them. Such a sight is too much for me. Think of that, Evelina, and take comfort, I charge thee. Say then, cried I, kneeling at his feet, say then that you forgive me, that you pardon my reserve, that you will again suffer me to tell you my most secret thoughts, and rely upon my promise never more to forfeit your confidence. Father, my protector, my ever honoured, ever loved, my best and only friend, say you forgive your Evelina, and she will study better to deserve your goodness. He embraced me, he called me his sole joy, his only earthly hope, and the child of his bosom. He folded me to his heart, and while I wept from the fullness of mine, with words of sweetest kindness and consolation, he soothed and tranquillized me. Dear to my remembrance will ever be that moment when, banishing the reserve I had so foolishly planned and so painfully supported, I was restored to the confidence of the best of men. When at length we were again quietly and composedly seated by each other, and Mr. Villars waited for the explanation I had begged him to hear, I found myself extremely embarrassed how to introduce the subject which must lead to it. He saw my distress, and with a kind of benevolent pleasantry asked me if I would let him guess any more. I assented in silence. Shall I, then, go back to where I left off? If if you please, I believe so, said I, stammering. Well, then, my love, I think I was speaking of the regret it was natural you should feel upon quitting those from whom you had received civility and kindness, with so little certainty of ever seeing them again, or being able to return their good offices. These are circumstances that afford but melancholy reflections to young minds, and the affectionate disposition of my Evelina, open to all social feelings, must be hurt more than usual by such considerations. You are silent, my dear. Shall I name those whom I think most worthy the regret I speak of? We shall then see if our opinions coincide. Still I said nothing, and he continued. In your London journal, nobody appears in a more amiable, a more respectable light than Lord Orville, and perhaps— I knew what you would say, cried I hastily, and I have long feared where your suspicions would fall. But indeed, sir, you are mistaken. I hate Lord Orville. He is the last man in the world in whose favour I should be prejudiced. I stopped, for Mr. Villars looked at me with such infinite surprise that my own warmth made me blush. You hate Lord Orville, repeated he. I could make no answer, but took from my pocket-book the letter, and giving it to him, See, sir, said I, how differently the same man can talk and write. He read it 3 times before he spoke, and then he said, I am so much astonished that I know not what I read. When had you this letter? I told him. Again he read it, and after considering its contents some time, said, I can form but one conjecture concerning this most extraordinary performance. He must certainly have been intoxicated when he wrote it. Lord Orville, intoxicated, repeated I. Once I thought him a stranger to all intemperance, but it is very possible, for I can believe anything now. That a man who had behaved with so strict a regard to delicacy, continued Mr. Villars, and who, as far as occasion had allowed, manifested sentiments the most honourable, should thus insolently, thus wantonly insult a modest young woman, in his perfect senses, I cannot think possible. But, my dear, you should have enclosed this letter in an empty cover, and have returned it to him again. Such a resentment would at once have become your character, and given him an opportunity in some measure of clearing his own. He could not well have read this letter the next morning without being sensible of the impropriety of having written it. Oh, Maria, why had I not thought of this? Oh, I totally switched the words around. I mean, it means the same thing, but oh, Maria, why had not I this thought? I might then have received some apology. The mortification would then have been his, not mine. It is true, he could not have reinstated himself so highly in my opinion as I had once ignorantly placed him, since the conviction of such intemperance would have levelled him with the rest of his imperfect race. Yet my humbled pride might have been consoled by his acknowledgments. But why should I allow myself to be humbled by a man who can suffer his reason to be thus abjectly debased? When I am exalted by one who knows no vice, and scarcely a failing, but by hearsay, to think of his kindness and reflect upon his praises might animate and comfort me even in the midst of affliction. Your indignation, said he, is a result of virtue. You fancied Lord Orville was without fault. He had the appearance of infinite worthiness, and you suppose his character accorded with his appearance. Guileless yourself, how could you prepare against the duplicity of another? Your disappointment has been proportioned to your expectations, and you have chiefly owed its severity to the innocence which hid in sorry, which hid its reproach. Approach. My goodness, I'm sorry. I read so much faster in my mind than I can talk that I'm always a whole sentence ahead. And I need to just slow down my reading mind so my mouth can catch up. I will bid these words dwell ever in my memory, and they shall cheer, comfort, and enliven me. This conversation, though extremely affecting to me at the time. Oh, go back, go back. I thought that was part of the conversation. That was okay, I'm going back. Sorry. Your disappointment has but been proportioned to your expectations, and you have chiefly owed its severity to the innocence which hid its approach. I will bid these words dwell ever in my memory, and they shall cheer, comfort, and enliven me. Not cheat. This conversation, though extremely affecting to me at the time it passed, has relieved my mind from much anxiety. Concealment, my dear Maria, is the fall of tranquillity. However I may err in the future, I will never be disingenuous in acknowledging my errors. To you and to Mr. Villiers I vow an unremitting confidence. And yet, though I am more at ease, I am far from well. I have been some time writing this letter, but I hope I shall send you soon a more cheerful one. Adieu, my sweet friend. I entreat you not to acquaint even your dear mother with this affair. Lord Orville is a favourite with her, and why should I publish that he deserves not that honour? Ooh, it's been half an hour. That was a long chapter. Oh, this one's super short. Okay, I'll just read it. Letter 30. Evelina in continuation. Bristol, Hotwell, August 28th. Oh, she's in Bristol. She's not at Berry Hill anymore. What is going on? Dun dun dun! Just teasing. You will be again surprised, my dear Maria, at seeing. Wait a minute. Sorry, I'm right in the middle of reading and I want to go back. I just want to see the difference in days. How long the difference? Okay, August 10th to August 28th. So it's almost 3 weeks later, 2.5 weeks later. Okay. You will be again surprised, my dear Maria, at seeing whence I date my letter, but I have been very ill, and Mr. Villiers was so much alarmed that he not only insisted upon my accompanying Mrs. Selwyn hither, but earnestly desired she would hasten her intended journey. We travelled very slowly, and I did not find myself so much fatigued as I expected. We are situated upon a most delightful spot. The prospect is beautiful, the air pure, and the weather very favourable to invalids. I am already better, and I doubt not but I shall soon be well, as well in regard to mere health as I wish to be. I cannot express the reluctance with which I parted from my revered Mr. Villiers. It was not like that parting which last April preceded my journey to Howard Grove, when all expectation and hope, though I wept, I rejoiced, and though I sincerely grieved to leave him, I yet wished to be gone. The sorrow I now felt was unmixed with any livelier sensation. Expectation was vanished, and hope I had none. All that I held most dear upon earth I quitted, and that upon an errand to the success of which I was totally indifferent, the re-establishment of my health. Had it been to have had it been to have seen my sweet Maria, or her dear mother, I should not have repined. Mrs. Selwyn is very kind and attentive to me. She is extremely clever. Her understanding, indeed, may be called masculine, but unfortunately her manners deserve the same epithet. Masculine women, even back then, were kind of obnoxious. For in studying to acquire the knowledge of the other sex, she has lost all the softness of her own. In regard to myself, however, as I have neither courage nor inclination to argue with her, I have never been personally hurt at her want of gentleness, a virtue which nevertheless seems so essential a part of the female character that I find myself more awkward and less at ease with the woman who wants it than I do with the man. Well, that makes sense. You're so used to women being feminine that when you're with a really masculine woman, it's way more uncomfortable or awkward than a masculine man, right? You expect masculinity from men, but it's hard to deal with in women. It's obnoxious. I'm sorry. Hot take. I like feminine women, and I like masculine men. She is not a favourite with Mr. Villiers, who has often been disgusted at her unmerciful propensity to satire, but his anxiety that I should try the effect of the Bristol waters overcame his dislike of committing me to her care. Mrs. Clinton is also here, so that I shall be as well attended as his utmost partiality could desire. I will continue to write to you, my dear Miss Mervyn, with as much constancy as if I had no other correspondent, though during my absence from Berry Hill my letters may, perhaps, be shortened on account of the minuteness of the journal which I must write to my beloved Mr. Villars. But you, who know his expectations, and how many ties bind me to fulfil them, will, I am sure, rather excuse any omission to yourself than any negligence to him. End of the second volume. So we are on to volume 3. Now, I am forewarning. I am scheduled to. I'm going to be having a booth at a fair next week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and it's all at night. And so I probably won't be doing the readings. I'm going to be crazy busy day and night from early morning till late at night and exhausted and all that. So I'll be reading Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but then, and it's not a for sure. It is possible I won't be able to do the fair because we're still waiting to hear back from the fair itself that says whether we have the booth or not. But if we have it, I won't be reading those nights. So there may be a few days in there where I don't do the reading, but I'll just pick it back up Monday after, and we'll carry on. We'll be all right. We'll be fine if we miss a few days. Anyway, that's all for tonight, and we will pick up again tomorrow, Monday. And I appreciate you stopping by. Thanks for coming to the Story Corner and enjoying story time with us. Leave a like on the video if you enjoy it, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.